In the dressing room with Chrissy B and other G's. In the dressing room with Project.KB every week. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, cool. So the sound is great. Happy
Awesome.
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's very hot today.
Yeah, I'm inside
So yeah.
now.
Oh well.
Thanks for
I'm enjoying the heat.
Oh, you're enjoying. Yeah, I've been outside for the past 3 days, so I am good for now. And then on Saturday, I'm going to the beach. So,
Mm,
yeah.
awesome. Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you face
You
to
too.
face. And also, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to do this.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for all that are here. And yeah.
Awesome. So, let's just like wait a moment. I'm just going to let some more people join. Where are you right now?
I'm at my house in Lowell, Mass. So it's
Okay,
a little bit north of Boston.
perfect. I know where Lowell is. I used to, as we briefly discussed, I used to live in Boston because I went to the Boston Conservatory, and then before
Right.
that, Natick, Massachusetts. Lowell is what, like 30 minutes or 45 minutes away?
Just about 30. Depends on
Okay.
where you're coming from, but yeah, about 30 minutes. It's a mill city. Lots of arts and happenings. So we have the largest folk festival in the United States happen every summer, the Lowell Folk Fest. There's a lot happening here, so it's a really great place to live.
Nice.
Yeah, very diverse. Lots
Do
of
you,
people, like different people, communities.
yeah, do you participate in the folk festival with Drumatix or?
Unfortunately, no, I've tried, but you have to be of a certain, like representing of certain nationalities and cultures in
Mhm.
order to, like, it has to be like Peruvian, Somalian, or what, like, it has to be a very specific type of culture.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Well, again, thank you for joining. Happy Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Hi, Abby. Hi, Joseph. Some of my friends, my dad's here, I think.
Hi.
So yeah, you're part of episodes 4, so I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm really excited to talk about what you're doing in Massachusetts. You've got a lot going on, which is really exciting, especially since we are, slowly back opening back up. I know every state is different. I'm in New York, you're in Massachusetts, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone and just a little bit about Dramatics and yeah, your mission and goals.
All right. So first, hi, Orit. My best friend is here. Hey.
Hi.
Um, so yeah, we're in Massachusetts. Things have really, sorry, the earphone is going up. Things have really opened up here in the past week. So on May 29th, our governor lifted all mask mandates for those who are fully vaccinated. Hi. And it feels like there was never a pandemic almost. It's very weird. I can't really describe my feelings about it because I haven't really gone back into like full blown work as far as the performances that are coming up, but we haven't been there yet. And I'm currently not really teaching, so I haven't felt it myself as a dancer. But I'm pretty sure that it is helpful for us because theaters don't have capacity restrictions anymore, and we can go ahead and start to rebook our work and find work again. So that is on the COVID front what's happening in Massachusetts. And then otherwise, with Dramatics, I formed it unofficially in 2014, but officially in 2017. And we have been growing ever since. We've been performing quite a lot in New England as well as in New York City and upstate New York. My mission and goals are I like to create family-oriented content that brings tap dance to life and presents it in a creative and very understandable fashion. But I also have educational goals with the company, which I pursue through our being on the roster with young audiences in Massachusetts. So it's two-pronged. My missions are both quality entertainment and kind of original work with tap dance, as well as educational goals it's a totally separate thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I work on both fronts, both commercial and educational.
Yeah, so and we talked about this in our email a little bit, like Project.KB is very new and we're kind of trying to adapt this idea similar to yours where it's like we're creating new works meant to, share to audiences, enrich the arts and culture, but then I use the process of creating these new works to educate. And But then there's this whole, so it's like process of creativity and collaboration to educate. So we're making the work, but in the process, we're educating, sharing the process. But then there's this whole others like sustainable, everything's sustainable, but then there's like other kind of sustainability where it's like we're focused on building communities that have an overall well-being in their physical and mental health, as well as just being eco-friendly and eco-conscious in the community, just being like good Samaritans and building communities. So I was curious, right off the bat, I'm curious, how do you, because I know it's hard to, a lot of times people just want to hear one thing, like what is the one thing you're doing? So is it hard / was it hard when you were kind of, starting up and kind of explaining, and even now your mission and goals when you do pitches to people, is it hard when you have a two-tiered kind of organization when there's both, you're trying to create work, but you're also trying to do this programming for, your young audiences?
I think it's a great question. And it's not so hard because every single future opportunity that I have has its own specific goal and mission. So I adapt to that with my programming because I offer such a wide area of offerings. I'm able to adapt to different capacities and different like venue types, patron types, educational settings, or commercial. So with Drumatix, I think if I look at the overall mission is to be able to employ dancers and bring forward my art in those different capacities. Mm-hmm. So what I create with Drumatix is really moldable. We can really change and fit ourselves to the different projects that we apply to. So it allows me, I don't create just one thing with one narrative and one ability, but I create different sets of programmings that allow me to really expand my offerings. So we're able to do festivals, both outdoors, indoors. I can do school shows. I can do corporate events. I can do I can't, different, there's so many different types of projects that we can do, but mm-hmm. I'm able to really apply to all of them. Mm-hmm. So according to the project that I'm applying to, I will see what is the mission statement of the project, and then I will adapt to that. And if I can't offer anything under those requirements, then I won't apply. But usually I'm able to apply to different things, including fringe festivals, different like just open box theater shows, like just rent a hall and then sell a show. And within the educational programming as well, I offer workshops and performances. Mm-hmm. So that definitely expands that as well, because schools sometimes want residencies for the kids and not just a performance, or they want the kids to be able to perform. So I'm able to teach repertoire and then have them do that. So yeah, it is a great question, and I'm aware that not every dance company or every artist is able to adapt in so many ways, but what my thought behind Drumatix is to be able to do that. And that way my dancers have a lot of opportunities, I have a lot of opportunities, and we have more sources of income, mm-hmm. and we're able to also give back more in different ways. Yeah.
That's amazing, and that's inspiring. I'm curious about, so does the programming, when you were developing the programming, and I'm sure it's, been continuous over time, did it start with like a piece and then you broke it down, or did you, like you said, kind of first you're like, oh, is there a educational one-day workshop I can do? Or do you want to talk about like which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, they kind of came together, because the way that it started, I think I should back up to my earphone keeps falling off. The way that it started, and if I back up all the way to 2014, is I was dancing in another tap company, the Boston Tap Company here, which was a pre-professional program, and I met a few friends in tap there. Through the owner of Boston Tap, I was able to meet someone in the community in Roxbury, which is a little bit south of Boston. Mm-hmm. She organized a volunteer type fundraiser, and she knew that I used to drum, so she approached me and she's like, hey, can you drum in our event? And I said, sure. I don't know any drummers here, because mm-hmm. I came from Israel in 2013 to Boston. I knew only the tap dancers that I knew. So I said, sure, I'll get some people on board. And I asked a few of my friends, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. We've never drummed before, but we'll learn. So we created a 3.5 minute piece just for that fundraiser. And then life happened. We performed for another like 2 times with that same woman in 2 other events that she organized in the Roxbury community. And then I had to put everything on hold for a little bit, and I decided to resume everything back in 2017 because I was itching to get it back together. So we started again, I think in 2017, again through her, through another fundraiser that she organized. I just reached back out to her. I was like, hey, do you have any events? And she said, sure, we have something coming up. Do you want to do something? But I wanted to kind of lift it up more and not just do drumming. So we started doing the tap and percussion. Specifically for that event, I tailored like a 10 to 15 minute piece. And because she wanted a longer set, I was scrambling with myself to find a good way to present in that event that will be a little bit more unique on top of the drumming. And that 15-minute set was created, and the audience loved it. So I took it and started finding more places to perform with that. And hold on, can you still hear me and see me?
Yes, right now.
Yes, okay, because my phone apparently is getting hot because we're outside. And
yeah,
okay,
careful with that.
Maybe I should go inside. Yeah, let's walk together.
Yeah,
so I'll go down to the basement where it's really cool. Hold on. You're walking with me. Sorry, guys.
The hot phone is a scary situation because it just
I know.
stops working, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. My phone is warming up. I have to go downstairs. Sorry, my kid is here in the living room, and off I go. All right. Nice and cool. All right, well, now we're indoors. All right. Let me just get settled. There you go, the chair. Yay.
I'd love to see like real life things happen.
This is it started with COVID, and it's we're still there with real life things because my kid was born. Well, we can talk about that in a minute. He was born right when COVID started, and I had to adapt my whole life and career to being at home with now he's a toddler, but he was a baby. Yeah, so we'll chat. So going back, so I took that 15-minute set and then just tried to find the different opportunities to be able to perform because I really enjoyed doing it, and my dancers, were like, when is there more? So and then I don't know, and then from there we just went on to, we kept rehearsing, we kept creating more. I kept creating more material, and I took that 15-minute set and kind of embellished it, made it better. And then we performed in New York at some point, and I was approached by the executive director of the Clayton Opera House up in Clayton, New York. I did not have a 45-minute show ready. I had 10 to 15 minutes of material. Yeah. And she comes up to me at the end of the show. We just showcased in a family program there. And she goes like, hey, do you guys want to come up to Clayton to perform for schools? And I said, sure. And she goes like, okay, so let's book it. And we, chatted over email, and she booked us a year in advance, and which gladly gave me enough time. But then I was like, okay, now we're going into schools, and I have to create a show. So that pushed me into creating a 45-minute long show called Rhythm Delivered. We worked really hard for that. And we did it. We went up to Clayton. We performed for 3 times for a total of 1,500 students, K through 12th grade. Yeah. And then I knew that is what I need to do. I understood at that moment, this is what Drumatix is. It's a family program. It's a school show. It's an educational platform, but also commercial. And from there, I started playing around with being able to strip the show down into sets of 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, offer those at festivals or different other settings, but also I applied for the young audiences roster, and we got accepted, and then we started doing that. So it all kind of stemmed from that one little moment of, hey guys, do you guys want to drum at this event? But it's correlated with both looking for opportunities and then adapting to those, but also taking what I have and pushing that towards where I want to go. So it's two-pronged.
Have you felt that sensation before? I'm just curious about talking a little bit more when you know that the thing that you just accomplished or achieved was not so much the right time in the right place, but kind of like that feeling like, oh, I know this is what I need to do. I know that this is what I'm doing. I've had a few moments with that because Project.KB has so many different like outlets and layers to it. It's been hard to hone in, but then I've had a few moments throughout this year where I'm like, oh, this is what it is. This is what it is. So like the whole phrase creating a sustainable economy for dance came like a year later, but when it did come, it was like, okay, this makes sense. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe that process, like why you think you felt that way performing for those kids, or if just moments in general when you feel like this is right. Yeah, that sensation.
Yes, so I'm just grabbing a chair. Hold on. I had to reset my whole setting outside. I thought it was going to be great, but then it turned out to be too hot for the phone. So I'm just going to drag a chair. You coming with me? Yay.
Yeah.
Yes, real life moments. I think so. I need to back up a little bit and talk about my personal experience as a performer before coming to Boston. So I
Exactly.
was actually, yeah, I performed with a drum and dance company in Israel before I moved here. It's called Tararam, which means big mess. And that company created a kids show called Power of Wishes, which I was cast for. And never in my life have I done children's theater, but we toured with that show for 2 years and we were really successful. And then I moved here, so I got basically pulled out with my life. I got pulled out from my role, from the company, from the show that is still touring, and thrown into Boston, Mass, where I don't know a soul. You know, in my heart, though, performing for kids in Israel it always gave me that connect. Like I felt connected to myself as an artist, and I just really felt in my own skin. Like I was like, I love doing it, and I have this great sense of comic relief. Like I really know how to make kids laugh, both as a teacher, as an actor or performer. So when I started doing the non-school shows before that Clayton Opera House opportunity, I didn't think about it. I was like, I'm being invited to perform at festivals and different types of, fundraisers, whatnot. Never for a school. I didn't even know I had access to that until I found out about young audiences, or Clayton, which was the first opportunity. But I liked throwing rocks and seeing where they land. So with the 15-minute set that I created, I applied for different shows, and the one that brought us the Clayton opportunity was actually a family show at Symphony Space in New York City, part of the APAP festival. So that's the Performing Arts and Presenters Association. I didn't know. I just took the opportunity. I didn't know what would come of it. I just liked performing for people, especially for kids. And I was like, that's a good chance for me to just perform for kids and young audiences, without the thought of it being what would eventually lead to my mission. But I had the most fun. And then when she came up to me and asked about the Clayton Opera House opportunity, I realized, okay, there's more to it. So my heart got kind of like drawn back to it. That's when I felt, okay, this is it. Like, this is what I need to be doing.
Kind of felt a little full circle-ish.
Yeah, a little bit more. So we still do other types of events, but when we perform for kids or for the schools, like we're more in our element. There's a lot of comedy in the show, a lot of like miming and theatrics, and the synopsis and the show story is very simple on purpose so that anyone can enjoy it. But I think mostly kids are really easy for them to follow. And I always look at the least common denominator of my audiences, and kids are super smart and intelligent, but it does take them a longer time to process things. And it does take them a longer time. Not everyone's on the same page at all times. So I created a show that really does speak to both adults and kids with kids in mind. But adults enjoy it as well. So it does go in both ways in that way. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So you said that you were pulled out of Israel to go to Massachusetts. That for like, what do you mean by that? Like you had a job opportunity, or you just wanted...
No, my husband's PhD program. The clothing rack.
I just
so good.
But I went.
Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I went to This is so funny. I've had struggle with this clothing rack. I've had 3 different ones and they keep on falling. I just think I need to put lighter clothes on it.
Gotcha. Well,
Really,
it's summertime, so there's your opportunity,
exactly.
right?
Anyway, saying about your husband.
Yeah, that's fine. So he was accepted into a PhD program at UMass Boston. That was the only program he was accepted into. He tried different ones in the US, so it brought us here, and that was it. I didn't really have a choice. I
Yeah.
really hated him for it for a minute, because I was thriving in Israel. I wasn't a performer all my life, and then when I got those opportunities uh, through the drumming company and then the children's musical, I realized, okay, I'm starting something here. Um, and then all of a sudden, like I'm doing it for 2, 3 years, it takes time to get your name out, to get started. And he was like, oh, we're moving to Boston because I have this PhD program starting. I remember just like really having my heart broken that this is it. I'm done. Like I don't know anyone in Boston. I'm older. It's going to take me time. No one's going to look my way. I don't have any experience in the US, and it's a very different ball game. I thought I would never be successful. He made a promise to me. He said, if all else fails, I will purchase a bar with a stage for you to perform on every night. Like, I'll make sure you're performing. Like, you don't worry, you're not going to lose it. Um, so he's a super, super strong support system for me. Like, he never ever gave up on me, and he's not going to, in that sense that he knows that this is my life and this is what I'm meant to do. So if it requires adjustments and change, I changed for him, and then I took my career and brought it over here without knowing what would be. Hey, Brooklyn, and then so it's reciprocal, right? Like you give and you take in this relationship. We're finding that way. We have 2 kids as well, so and we're on our own here, like no family and no help. So we do find a way to make that work for us in a sense that if I need to go out and perform or if I'm teaching or something, then he knows that he's taking charge. It's not just because of the move and that I got moved out of my life to come here, but it's a really healthy relationship in that sense that we know, and it's not spoken of. It's just, this is our life. This is what's happening. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And to know that you were married already in Israel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to know that like that partnership, you guys committed to each other. So when life throws things in your way, it's just interesting, and to hear that you're adaptable and that people are adaptable and the relationships are adaptable. And I'm glad that you have that support system, because that is a big deal. Like, you know, people handle relationships differently. So like one example could have been like where he went to go get his program and you stay in Israel, and then eventually, you know what I mean? Like, but you guys decided to go
Yeah.
together. So that's awesome. And I just wanted to say, for those of you who are listening and don't know, like Massachusetts and specifically Boston area is known to have a smaller dance community in general. It's very project based. They don't really have a lot of full-time dance companies. My education there was an amazing opportunity. I loved my time there, but I knew I wasn't going to stay in Boston. So it's really impressive that you're creating opportunities and jobs for people in Massachusetts and having the flow go.
Yes, it's not easy though. So we do a lot of New York-based things. Uh, not just necessarily because it's necessary, but there are more opportunities. But even so, like in New England, not just Boston, there are places to go. You just kind of know how to look for them, find them, and know what to say in order to get those opportunities, I guess. Yeah, we're going to be performing like in Providence in September, and then we have at the PVD Fest, and then we filmed a performance up in Maine over the weekend. What was supposed to be 2 live shows in 2020 got canceled and rebooked, so we filmed it just for the patrons of the theater to be able to see it. So there are opportunities, like they're out there in New England. It's really harder. It's not as dense as New York in the sense of like everywhere you go, especially closer to the city, there are so many companies working and venues operating and different festivals. But yeah, I mean, we're making it happen, but
Yeah.
we're doing both. We're being both New England and New York. So
Yeah, I've heard that a few times because maybe you're familiar with Prometheus Dance.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they're one of, I mean, I've known them for a long time because I went to high school and studied with them and then college as well. But when I interviewed them, because it's funny that I'm doing this interview series talking about like coming full circle, because when I was in college, I interned with this social media or with this company. They gave me social media role, and then each person part of the team had to make their own like project. And what I made was something called Boom Dance, which is now Project.KB basically, which is talking about sustainable careers. So I interviewed different dance companies. I interviewed Boston Ballet. I interviewed Prometheus.
Mm.
I interviewed, my network in Boston about, having like creating a dance company. So it's kind of funny because like here I am doing it basically again, just in a different way. Um, but yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because the work that you do is really impressive and you've had a few years to build your company and you're still building, but I'm curious your role in these applications, in these grant applications. Are you doing all the writing yourself? If so, that's amazing and impressive. Do you have your other dancers help you with admin stuff? Like, what is the team situation? Kind of, how does it flow for you?
So I do all the writing myself. I don't have administrative help from the dancers. One of my dancers previously, she's not in the company anymore, but she helped me a little bit with managing like our Google Drive and some of our Excel sheets, and to transcribe a few of our performances onto like a set list. But otherwise, which was super helpful because everything was kind of chaotic back then when that happened. But otherwise, I I have my own set of ways to work, which I already have like a flow. When I apply to things with the deadlines, because I'm not teaching now, I have more time, even though there's the baby. But still, so I think that at some point I had this idea and goal of having dancers dance and do admin work, but my dancers are just as busy. So I don't know if some of them don't necessarily have the capacity to also take on a role like this, even though if one of them would want to, I can offer that. However, I do live Zoom performances because of COVID. We did that, and one of my dancers is my stage manager for those technical shows on Zoom. So I do have some inside help on that aspect. When I have things happening, I try to reach out to the team first and then to people on the outside if I need help.
Mhm.
Or Reet, my friend who also joined us here, she also helped with the stage management earlier on in the pandemic. So yeah, but she does, when we perform in New York, she comes and helps us out. So it's like another network of friends that are helping. But basically, it's kind of a one-man show with a little bit of help here and there. I think that I was actually asked by another organization this week that I interviewed with for one of their projects about if there was one thing that I could change, what would it be? And I immediately said hire someone like to help me because I feel that there is potential for a lot more and it's not being fully explored because I am on my own.
Yeah.
But hiring someone, I mean like someone that would be their day job, but that requires a budget and so we're in this loop of money creating money.
Exactly. So talking about these, like, because I actually am interviewing with they're not an arts organization, but they are a company that is running a full business, and from the outside seems to not be a one-person show, but on the inside it is. So I will say that for me, my schedule is starting to kind of settle in with certain things. It seems, at least for the summer, it changes probably like every 3 months, I feel my schedule. But like for the summer, it feels like Thursday is an outdoors day. We have our rehearsal residency. Fridays, I do movement and meditation. Sometimes I do in the dressing room on Fridays, but it's like an admin day and like a merch day for me. And then Saturdays, I usually go outdoors and sell the teas at different pop-ups and stuff. And then like Mondays, I always work for my stepdad. He has a business in the city, so I help him out on Mondays. But then it seems like Tuesday, Wednesdays end up being my admin day. And the only, like, currently I just feel like I'm lacking in time to do more class. Like I still like rehearse and like take yoga and, you know, try to keep in shape, but I want to do it more. So that to me is lacking in terms of time. And then I feel like I've put my like professional, like acting, commercial work on hold. And I really hope it's temporary. So do you have any like tips and tricks that you've kind of acquired? And you said that you're now have two kids. So one of them was born during the pandemic. Is that correct?
Yeah, at the start of the pandemic, March 2020, March 25th. So our governor shut down everything on March 24th. I have a crazy hospital story if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
So we weren't wearing masks at the hospital. I came in without a mask. I delivered without a mask. And then when I was learning to nurse again, nobody was wearing a mask. Like, right? Aren't you shocked? Everyone thought that if you touched surfaces, you would get COVID. Nobody knew yet it was airborne. There was speculations, but it wasn't like proved.
Right.
So the nurses were literally like on top of me, helping me. The lunch lady, like everyone, I wasn't wearing one. Like it's just insane to think about it today.
Yeah.
How different it was. And this was just March 2020. Within like a week or two, everyone was wearing a mask. So maybe I got COVID at the hospital. I don't know. But yeah, so that happened right along with cancellation emails and everything you're booked for. We had like May 2020 was supposed to be a month of like every single weekend, Saturday, Sunday, plus school shows, just crazy month, like tons of income, like really great. Everything got canceled. Some of it was rebooked, most of it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I forgot what the question was. Oh, the flow. Anyway, yeah, so the baby, that's okay, that was the story. Fast forward to today. To be honest, the baby's going to start going to daycare in like 2 weeks. So my schedule will change back to having the day to myself. But in the last year, there were days where I felt completely lost because I did not have a schedule. His sleep changes all the time. He's teething. You know, we have to get creative and go outdoors to not get bored. Then my older son, he goes to school, but there was times where he was virtual, then he was in person, and then it's just really, this whole year is not representative by any means of what my typical schedule would look like.
Yeah.
With that said, though, through this mess, I think in the last 4 or 5 months at least, I've been able to readapt to know what I need to do in order to go forward with the business and with the company. So I really relate to you with losing the training. I haven't been to a class in years because of life, company, and it's so important for us as dancers to keep that training, even if we think we're at the top of our game, which I know I'm not. I have so much more learning to do. And I used to go to festivals here and there and like take classes, but that is lacking for my life. I could come here down to the basement and just tap dance and like practice, but realistically at 8:30 p.m. I'm like beat. I want to go to bed. So I'm hopeful that when he goes back to daycare, the toddler, and then both of them will be in school, I'll be able to go back to my training a little bit more and then have a better schedule. Like you said, like have Mondays for this, Tuesdays for that, it all depends on deadlines too. So if there's a deadline for an application, that will be on my calendar, and then retract a few days from before that, I'll make sure that everything's done. And, you know, if I have to get references or, you know, sometimes you need recommendation letters, I don't know. So different things happen through the workflow. I do make sure that I check my emails every single day and respond to all of them. So my inbox at the end of the day is empty. Like I will not have anything unread in the inbox, just to make sure that I've replied to everything I need to reply to. And then I'll wait for responses, and that will come back whenever it does. But things do really move fast that way, and I want to recommend to anyone who's listening and is trying to either start a business or is struggling with managing their time, make sure your inbox is empty at the end of the day, or at least every 2 days. And there's not a ton of emails, but some of them really require a thorough answer, or I have to check up on like dates with my dancers in order to book things. You know, like there's always work to be done around responding to those emails most of the time. If it's reading a contract, replying to the contract, I don't know, like asking questions. but I just make sure that everything gets read through or taken care of throughout the day. For me, with communicating with my dancers, there's so many ways to do it. But as far as workflow, we tried Facebook groups. We've tried a Facebook message group. We have WhatsApp. They don't really use it. So I do text messaging in chains. So if there's a certain performance where I need a few dancers to respond, I'll just text that group of dancers, title it with whatever it is, like set date of performance or whatever. And then just I'll have that thread for that performance specifically or individually with the dancers, and then I'll like write down like who responded, who didn't, who can do what, day or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I work on that front. We've tried so many different ways, like polls, Excel sheets. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
So
Like if
what?
I was saying, I tend to just do direct texting, or like I'll DM them on Instagram, and then as soon as they confirm, I do another run. So we're confirmed for this day, and then I put my calendar, and then it's me whether or not I give them their contract a week in advance, or sometimes it's 2 days in advance. But even if I didn't give them the full thing, at least I gave them all the information.
Right.
So they have it, so then when they do get the contract or whatever information they need, they're not shocked.
Yeah, so I make sure that I have a list on our Facebook group, and I make sure I update it with everything that's booked. Like just saying like this is booked, this is not yet, who's performing. Hey, Jillian, one of my former dancers just joined us. Hello. She's hiking. Can I tell you about her? She's amazing. She's hiking the AT all the way from Georgia to Maine. She's done 1,100 miles so far.
Whoa.
There you go. I know.
When did that
Amazing. March, right? Yeah, she started in March, I think, or April. Yeah, mid-March. Wow. So that's, I just want to give a shout out because it's just amazing. And one of my other dancers is here too, and she's competing for Miss America in July.
What?
Oh, Miss Massachusetts. Sorry, Miss Massachusetts.
Miss Massachusetts.
Sorry. Yeah, which will lead her to Miss America because she's wonderful. So I have a lot of really great people that I work with, and I'm really appreciative of like really everyone that is part of, we call it, I call it a family, and I hope that they do too, but it's a community. I feel the same as you with, we share the same language, and a lot of us share the same experiences, and a lot of, related to dance especially. So, there's a bond there, and it's unspoken of most of the time, but dance does bring us together, and it does connect us. And we're also very different people from very different backgrounds, places. We've been places, we're going places, like our missions in life and goals are different. But in this moment where we're dancing together and creating something, that's a bond, it's a community for me. So I do try to maintain that spirit at rehearsals as well. So I'm never like overlooking from the top, and I'm one of the dancers. And I dance too, so that makes sense.
That's important because in general, for those who aren't in the dance community, there is a lot of times, and we're all working on this to make dancing environments and working environments better, but there is this sense of like hierarchy and like competition. And even if you are like not a competitive person by nature, it's just part of the lifestyle. So that's something that we're working on as a dance community to make it more sustainable for, our bodies, but also our minds, and to make working always happy, and not let it just be working for a paycheck, but working because you enjoy the people that you're working with, if it's not the work itself. I was curious, Noah, where did you find your network of dancers? Are they all like heavily tap experience? And then my second part of that question is, when you do have gigs, is it kind of what you briefly mentioned where you just email everyone and you're like, who's available? So it's kind of like pickup basis. And then do you have like more full-time dancers?
Great questions. So the network, different places for each person. I held auditions once in the last 4 years. I don't love doing that. I don't. I feel that at an audition, everyone's sometimes pretending to be something that they're not. It's not as authentic. But I did, out of that audition came 2 dancers who were not from a tap background, and those are the only 2 dancers that I have who are not heavily tap based. But they bring something completely different to the table, so that's great. One of them was a percussionist in college and high school, and the other one, she's just the funniest person I've ever met. So it's super helpful to have a little bit of a variety. And then because of the eagerness to learn, they picked up on the tap, very well. The others are all from the Boston Tap community. We met mostly through the Boston Tap Company, which we were all part of at some point or another. Some of us how do you call it? Like I came and they left, or yeah. And others we danced, and cross paths. And others like Jillian, my friend who's hacking the AT, I only met her after I left, but someone else in the company was still dancing there and said, you have to meet Jillian, and they brought her to rehearsal. And I immediately connected with her, and then she's like, all right, it's a go. So the tap community in New England and Boston specifically is really not big. We all know each other. Everyone knows everyone. There's a few other working companies, and some dancers are there and some are with me. Some have done both throughout the years. So yeah, we are really interconnected, but those who are heavily on the tap side, I think for the most part are with Drumatix, and the rest are with Subject Matter, which is a different tap-based company in Boston. Those are the 2. I think we are both the working ones right now in the area. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so actually my question is, do you know my friend Ian Berg? He's in the tap.
Yeah.
Boston.
That's Subject Matter is Ian's company.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
He's like 2 years younger than me, or maybe 3, I don't remember, but we danced together, dance partner one year, and I know he's doing a lot of tap stuff. We don't keep in a lot of connection, but every time super talented tap dancer. So that's amazing. And that's great to hear, actually, to know that he's doing well in that way. You mentioned briefly about how the pandemic has given you some time to think about how you want to shift Drumatix and some changes that you want to make. What are those shifts and changes, if you don't mind me asking?
Did I say shift and change? I did. Also I forgot to answer your question about the text chains and the gigs, but we can talk about that in a minute. It's more my personal shift and change, because up until the pandemic, I was teaching 4 or 5 nights a week, and then doing a lot of choreography for different studios, and just like guest choreography, a lot of workshops. I used to work at summer camps, like as a dance director or creative movement teacher, like different, work in the movement theme. And I think it's pandemic plus baby, plus the fact that for almost 15 years, I haven't been around at night for date nights, for getting my older son to bed. I was missing that part of my life. I didn't know that I was missing it, but I was missing it. So I'm more home-based now. Like, I want to be home a little bit more. But with that said, my goals for Drumatix this year has made me think about, do I really want to do this? And this question, it comes up to every dancer's mind. I think sometimes it's a daily thing, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right choices, being a dancer, being a performer, being a teacher, like whatnot? And I always ask myself those questions, but I was so in the zone of just teaching, workshops, performances, like nonstop, that I never had the chance to pause and think. And I think that this pandemic made a lot of us in the arts stop for a moment, because we didn't really have a choice, because work was gone. It made us sit down and think, do I really want to be doing this? And if so, at what capacity? And some of my friends in the field have completely changed orientation. I have a friend who's she was a performer, musical theater, like tours, a lot of off-Broadway stuff. She realized, I still want to be dance, but now she owns a dance studio. Super successful. She opened it during the pandemic, and I offered her to join my company. She was about to come to rehearsal, and then she's like, I'm shifting gears. I want to open my own business. So she's not performing anymore, which is, she might go back, but right now she's doing that. So a lot of people have changed orientation within the field. A lot of people have also ditched the field. They're just not dancing anymore. They don't want to do it. There's not a lot of money in it unless you're doing the right thing or part of the right projects, I guess, or always supplementing with additional things. So my dance friends know you can't just live off of teaching. You have to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just live off of performances, you know. So at least that's the way I've learned the course of this profession, that it's not sufficient to be doing just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do a lot of things within the dance profession. They just have to be different. You know, so I think that when I'm talking about a shift and a change, it's more so for myself realizing that this is what I want to do. And I've questioned myself multiple times over the last year. And then within that decision, how do I want to achieve whichever goal it is that I set for myself and the company? So I'm more just heavily geared towards getting as many shows booked as I can. But I've also, you know how, and everyone, I'm assuming everyone from the arts this will resonate with you, that you take kind of any gig that you can take,
Mm-hmm.
because exposure, connections, networking, it's all very important. But I've done that for so many years that right now, if someone offers a low pay for a show, I'm not going to take it. Like, I'm at this point where I can say no, because other opportunities will present themselves, and they always do. Sometimes you have to work for them, but they will present themselves if you set your mind to it and you know what you're doing. But saying yes to every single opportunity when it's super underpaid, especially for a dance company, like if you have to pay the dancers and they're not paying you enough to be able to pay the dancers, like that's a no-go for me.
Yeah.
Where it used to be. So that's kind of the shift that I made. Just take more gigs that pay better. But also now I want to start volunteering with a company. So we haven't done that because there's always other things happening in your life. And you give back through your art, but are you giving back to the community? So I'm in touch with, specifically for my town, my city, Lowell. It's a very diverse place, with a lot of different communities that are not in a good condition, not in good shape. And we have a boys and girls club here in Lowell where some of the kids that come to the club only go because they get food served where they would not have food at home. So I'm in touch with them to establish some kind of workshops for the kids, and then seeing how we can get more involved. It's a process. It's taking a long time, but I'm hopeful that once that gets settled, we can start doing that. And it will be a trial run to see how it goes, but I really want to give back more in that sense to the community, because we do have a lot to offer on our end. So those are the two major shifts that I've done. So get work that pays more, take opportunities that I'm able to support,
Mm-hmm.
And then try to give more to the community without pay, obviously, just give. So those are two ways in which I've made a kind of shift / change, I guess.
Yeah, I would say I had a similar journey, as as a choreographer, because I'm still trying to expand my name as a choreographer and still as an artist too. But I had made that shift, I don't know, like maybe 2 years ago, where I was like, I have to make a certain amount per project, or I have to be paid hourly per rehearsals. I can't be doing like free rehearsals and then like $150 for a show or something like that. So that to me is really important. And that's part of Project.KB's mission of creating a sustainable economy for dance. Like, really, like, I have always been that way, even if it's out of pocket, even if it's from like a donation, or even if it's money that I'm making from my unemployment right now, like I'm giving that back towards the dancers that I work with. And so, yeah, it's very important that the only way to improve the working environments of artists and dancers is to practice what we preach, right? So we should be like saying no to more things that aren't like equitable or sustainable or like healthy working environments. And so I'm glad to hear that. The other part I was going to say though, was as a choreographer, like it is sometimes hard when you're given an opportunity and they ask for like a group piece or like a 20-minute long piece, and you're like, I could maybe do a 3-minute piece with this, with this requirement and this budget, but it's hard. So I've been practicing, and I've been doing this as an individual artist, and I've been putting it into my work as a choreographer, like negotiating contracts. And like, I'm always one to tell my friends and my colleagues in my community that like, if I find even one thing that I want to switch, I'm never afraid to ask for that. And
Hmm.
sometimes they say no, which is fine. And sometimes I had actually a recent story where like they said no, and then I still agreed to it because it was a project that I really wanted to be a part of. And then after getting involved in it, I still, emailed them with my concerns, and I just said it very plainly and clearly, but I guess maybe it could have been read in like a kind of frustrated way. But at the end of the day, like I'm here to advocate for the arts and make sure that whatever you are providing for us is appropriate for the art form, to make sure we have some basic needs. And I do want to go back to what you were going to say earlier about with the dancers, but now that we're here, if it's a hard question to answer, but I'm just curious. Like for me, I would love to offer eventually, I'm still new, this is not going to happen this year or next year, but maybe the one after. I would like to offer like full-time salaries, right? So I was just,
I wish.
yeah. I was just
Yeah.
curious if you had any thoughts, just your own personal opinions on what you think moving forward, good working environment, appropriate working environment, just a few things that you think is important to you and Drumatix.
So I also have that goal of the full-time
Yeah.
payment. The other professional company that I was part of previously was also not fully paid, and that one is a 25-year-old international touring company.
Mm.
It's really hard to find, I think, as a dancer, those opportunities where you can be provided.
Mm-hmm.
In all of the United States, there's only one company, tap dance wise, and I don't know about other ones, but a tap company that pays a full salary to the dancers. But they rehearse 6 days a week, and they're solely committed to that company for performances. So like they can't do other things.
Wow.
One tap dance company in all of the U.S. that does that.
Wow.
They're in Austin. It's called Tapestry, and they're amazing. They are amazing. Tapestry,
Yeah.
yes. Very, very old company. Like it's been around for a long time, and it has produced some of the best tap dance artists that we have internationally. Like a lot of really big names have gone through that company. So I think that as director, as artistic director, I want to strive to get to that place. Like I want to be able to be that. Um, I think that I can't blame the pandemic for everything. I really can't, but I have to in a sense that prior to COVID, things were looking different. And then there was a whole year of loss. So I'm rebuilding that now to get to that place where it's sustainable, where I'm able to offer that hourly salary plus performance fees according to different projects. So I'm working towards that. I'm working really hard. Part of that is me coming up with other products that the dance company can offer, be it if I do it by myself or if my dancers want to come on board, or I don't know, but so I'm working on just not just performances and workshops, but other products that can come to life. I've done that previously as an independent person, never under the umbrella of Drumatix, but that's in progress right now.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that will help the budget grow, and then I'll be able to, make it more sustainable, which is just, you can ask anyone that I've ever spoke to about this. I've always said, I want Drumatix to be that company that pays a salary where the dancers can be committed to more than just once or twice a week for rehearsals or just per project based.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting there. It's taking time, but we're going to get there. So I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful
Yeah.
too, and we can support each other on this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, so because you have done a few educational programs, I have a mentor right now who is one of my mom's colleagues, and we're talking about pitches and budgets and stuff like that. I'm curious if you wanted to talk just briefly about when you do pitch to a school or an educational program, is there like a set rate that you expect to get, or is it something where you try to push for more, or how does that, or do they just offer it to you and you see if you can work within that means? How do those pitches kind of work out for you?
So for Massachusetts, I'm exclusive through Young Audiences for any educational programming. So that is the contract, and I can't disclose the fees, but there's a set fee for every performance. So it's not changing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I negotiated and contracted with the organization directly, and they have a communication with the schools. So everything that goes through the schools goes through Young Audiences. So for Massachusetts-based educational programs, that is that. For other places where I've tried to apply or applied for other educational opportunities, I basically just go off of if it's a mini tour, like when we did Clayton, it was 3 days, 3 shows. So I negotiated the terms as per diem, hotels, the van, because we have a lot of equipment. So those things were negotiated prior to, plus the dancers pay per performance, or, we were smaller then. So as we grow and as time progresses, my portfolio is bigger. I can ask for more.
Mm-hmm.
So I can negotiate higher if it's per diems or higher performance fee, etc. Because when you start off small, you can't really expect to be paid as much as older companies or more experienced companies
With a larger name, yeah.
with larger names and it's not even about the name, even if no one has heard of you, but if you have a really large portfolio and a really like something like your offering is really based, like it's proven to be successful, even if you haven't been heard of, you still have that card in your hand where you can say, we've done this and that, we've performed here and there, and this is what we provide with our program. This is the gain. This is the objective. And so once that's set, you can fly with it. And then also, I think that it's not even about the demand, it's more just what you can offer. So the more established you are and the more you are focused on your goals and your objectives, educationally especially, you need to have those educational goals written down, set in stone. Mm-hmm. Then you're able to negotiate higher fees. But I also, if there's an organization that it's obvious or evident that they don't have the budget that I'm expecting for, I will ask, how much are you able to offer? If it's out of state, it's different. But if it's in the area like New England or whatnot, or it's not like New York is not a far drive for us either. It's just 3.5 hours away. Mm-hmm. Then I'll ask, how much can you offer? And then I can provide this and that. So it's like a menu. And I think that for dance companies, creating a menu is a good thing. And I think that and it's been proven successful for me to be able to offer, like I said in the beginning, between a 5-minute set to a 60-minute performance. There's a big difference in preparation, but adaptability is so important that if you are really good with, like, your creativity is flowing and you have the hang of things, it should be easy enough to create that kind of menu and be able to offer different things so that you're not set to, oh, my piece is just 20 minutes, I can't do less, I can't do more, or I need to have this and that set of lighting, or, I'm really flexible. I'll say, oh, outdoors, no lighting, sure, no problem. Like, and then what do I need to have in order to provide that? Do I need my own floor? Yes. Do I need my own speaker? Yes. That's like a one-time investment, but then you're able to offer outdoor performances without a speaker system, mm-hmm. right? So those are all things that I've learned through the years, that I have to aggregate all these different like capabilities, but it's giving us more options. So that's really important for me to relate to anyone listening who's starting or contemplating on how they can improve their process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And, having those experiences, you'll get the knowledge that, you'll need to on. We're running a little tight on time, but I just wanted to know Sam had a question for you, but I do want to ask if you want to talk about maybe the upcoming performances that you have going on, the ones that people in Massachusetts can see, but also if they're not in Massachusetts, the virtual ones.
Yeah. So the next 2 weeks in June are going to be busy. We have a few live shows that are local. So if you're in Massachusetts, you're welcome to join us on Sunday at 1:30 at the Newton it's called the Greater Boston JCC in Newton. They have information on their website. It's a family event. We're doing a 45-minute show, and then there's free ice cream. You have to purchase a ticket. It's like $18, but you get the show and you get the ice cream. And it's a safe event for kids and families. So that's happening on Saturday. Then we have live school show, and we have a live retirement home show. We're happy to be back at retirement homes, and those are closed to the public, unfortunately. But more will come. We will be, so if you follow us, you'll see we'll have options probably closer to the fall. We're doing PVD Fests probably in September. I'm not sure of the date yet, but we're going to do the programming there. And we're also doing 2 weekends in August in Salem, Mass. We're doing four outdoor performances free to the public with a workshop. So it's going to be great. Dates and times will be announced soon. That's in the live front for what's coming. And then Zoom, I'm doing school shows, which you guys cannot come to, but there's one free performance for anyone around the world, Tuesday night, I think it's June 15th, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time through the Cambridge Public Library. So Cambridge, Mass, where Harvard and MIT are. So you can find us there. So again, it's Tuesday, June the 15th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Cambridge Public Library. Thank you. And I think you need to register. So you have to go on their website. It's free, but you just have to sign up because I think they're limiting Zoom space, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so that's coming up. And we'll have, if you don't follow us already, thank you for being here. And then if you follow us, I update about shows all the time. So more will come. We're starting back now, and we're just going to go more. Like, I'm not stopping. So,
Yeah, love that.
yes.
Sam's question.
And there,
oh, yeah, you see it.
yeah.
Partners.
No, I have to scroll back. Is it
partners and their support, Noah?
About my partner?
Partners, maybe like the partners that you've partnered with Drumatix and their support. I think, I don't know.
So I can talk briefly about I talked about my husband, so I hope that answer was questioned, but I'll just reiterate how supportful he is. And I'm privileged to have someone like that by my side he's my number one fan, I guess. He's not a fan of all the equipment that I lug around, because if you see how much stuff I have to carry for each performance, that's kind of crazy. A lot. Like my SUV is filled to the like windows, everything is blocked by drums, buckets, props. Like it's like a clown car. So that's that. So he supports in that way, like truly. If it's taking care of the kids while I'm away, if it's coming with me to performances, just sitting in the audience rooting, or we have a unspoken system of, I have a show, he knows what to do. Mm-hmm. And then as far as the people who work with me in Drumatix, super supportive. Like we don't have to, like, we're friends. We dance together, we perform together. Like when I was pregnant, that was a different cast, but it doesn't matter. When I was pregnant with a second kid, they threw like the most amazing baby sprinkle, because of the second kid, baby sprinkle. And it's this love that, like, anyone who steps in the door and becomes part of this company, it's like they're automatically part of the family for me. So like I'm there for them, and I feel it's mutual if I need something. And there's a difference in age, there's a difference in experiences, but it doesn't really matter. And I think that due to the fact that we're so friendly with each other and so good with each other, that our shows are better, and like definitely the workflow is better, and there's a language that we speak. It's there, like the communication. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will say, if you're in Brooklyn this Thursday, I have my weekly residency in downtown Brooklyn, so come to Metro Tech Commons between 12 and 4, and we'll be in rehearsal. We're creating a new piece for a new short film. We do create, short film projects and also live performances. So please come to that. And yeah, it was so nice to talk to you, and I'm glad you made time out today. Yeah, let's keep in touch, and yeah, I really am inspired by your work, and hopefully I'm going to come to Boston sometime soon.
Yeah.
I did a residency with Boston Conservatory, but it was during COVID, so it was virtual. I was really hoping to go to Boston. Um,
One of our dancers she dances with Boko.
oh, word.
Um, yeah.
Like
Um,
Boko or teach it?
she teaches there
Oh, cool, cool.
and dances. Yeah.
Oh,
So amazing contemporary dancer.
yay.
I should introduce you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Let's keep it.
Cool.
And thank you so much for your time. Please follow Drumatix on Instagram and stay updated with their stuff. And then
Thank you.
overall Massachusetts, New England area. Project.KB is in Brooklyn, but we do these online activities so anyone can join. So thank you for everyone who joined us during this conversation. I hope that it was as informative for you as it was for me and us. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.